I have struggled to think of a way to top Senator Murray's characterization of West Huddleston. He is the heart and soul of the National Association. He has led us to heights that I don't know that very many of us even imagined some years ago. It's a thriving, incredibly significant professional community in this country, internationally as well. And for lack of any more superlatives, I give you West Huddleston.
Well, good morning, Lifesavers. Good afternoon. It's 6 minutes over. Hello, Lifesavers. How are you? Who's fired up to be a drug court professional? Come on. Really? Congratulations to the awardees. That's awesome. That's so fun. Isn't it fun to be acknowledged? Yeah. All right, settle down. I'm thrilled to be here. I don't know how many years it's been since I've been to the great state of Washington. Mary, how many? 7? You think it's been that long? Oh, sorry. Anyway, it is a joy to be back. Well, we were here for our national conference 6 years ago, but it's an incredible honor to be with you, the Washington Association of Drug Court Professionals, and your meeting. Thank you for inviting me. It's great to hear from Denny, who just had a great time hearing Denny this morning. One person. And it's also really cool to see the partnerships that are budding. For instance, with the Center for Court Innovation, I see Judge Burke there, one of the literally pioneers of the drug court movement. Thank you, Judge Burke, for your leadership in this field. Dennis Riley's coming through the door right there from CCI. I mean, you guys are surrounding yourselves literally with the best of the best, and it's an impressive group, because I think what you're willing to do is you're willing to learn new ways of operating and keep up with the science and the evidence-based practices and the best practices, because you know that working with this population is really difficult and you want the best outcomes that you can. And I think that that's what separates you from any other professional in the justice system, frankly. And it's really why it is such an honor for me to have this, this role as the CEO of your National Association of Drug Court Professionals. I have the greatest job on earth. I get to sing your praises. I get to sell what you do. And I get to come to events like this and thank you for what you do. So from the National Association of Drug Court Professionals, our board, our staff, thank you. Thank you for the life-saving work that you do in drug courts and mental health courts, DWI courts, all the problem-solving courts that are represented in this room. And I know you don't hear that enough. I used to work in drug courts, and before that I worked in prisons, and it's thankless work, and it's tough work. And so let me stop to say thank you. I also want to say thank you from a personal perspective. Before I get into my PowerPoint here, I'm going to do something that I normally don't do in the professional arena, but I hope that this will resonate with you, because from a personal perspective, I can tell you what you do makes a huge difference. May 9th, 1988. Do you remember where you were? It was Mother's Day, 1988. I remember where I was. I was sitting in my really, really crappy apartment in Memphis, Tennessee, where I was born and raised. It was a nasty environment. I was having a go-away party for myself. I was the only one there. True story. I was getting loaded. I was just shy of my 20th birthday, and I was living a miserable existence. I was a wretch. I would steal your drugs and help you look for it. That was me. And I looked very different back then, and sounded much different. I was incredibly angry. I hated the world. I hated anyone that would look at me. I would fight you at the drop of a hat. I was full of rage, empty, and had burned every bridge that could be burned. The only person that would return my phone calls or do anything for me was my mother. So that's you know that guy, like their mama is the only person on earth. That was me. At before my 20th birthday. So I'm having a going away party, May 9th, 1988. My phone rang. It was before cell phones, at least the ones that I could afford. So the phone rang. I picked up the landline, and it was an old friend who I'd grown up with named Erica, who was at her third year of college down at a major flagship university in Florida. And the phone call went like this: "Hey, West, haven't talked to you in a couple of years. Hope you're doing great. It's really good to hear your voice." I was like, uh-huh. She's like, "I have some new drug. It's called ecstasy, and I want your help in getting it from South Florida to Memphis, and we can work out an agreement where if you fly down here and help me drive it back, you can make a lot of money. We could go into business together, yada, yada, yada." Now, trust me when I say to you that I have not made a good decision in a good 14 years up to that point in my life, literally. And I said, "Erica, you know what? I've got to go to treatment tonight. I'm in a little bit of a legal trouble, and I've got to be on a bus before midnight, or some charges are going to be pressed, so I can't help you. Thanks." And I hung the phone up. And honestly, as soon as I hung the phone up, I was like, oh, man, that was my way out. That was my way out. I cannot believe I just hung the phone up. This was pre-cell phone days. There was no calling Erica back. I got on the bus, went to treatment. That's a whole Oprah show. Third day of treatment, I wanted out of there so bad, I ran to a window and tried to throw myself out of a 2-story window just to get out of there. I wanted to get high so bad. Somebody apparently had tried that before me. It was made of plexiglass, so I ended up on the floor. And I'm not lying, true, this is just a little brief piece of my history. I'm laying on the floor in a 5-point restraint. Now this is back during this was a straight program. Thank you. I'm a graduate of a straight program, believe it or not. So they had me in a 5-point restraint, had my hands down, my feet down, my head, holding my head, and I'm screaming and I'm enraged. And this little old Scottish lady named Jean Cassidy, who was the clinical director, very strong Scottish brogue, which I cannot demonstrate, but she, the peer staff wanted to kick me out. They said, "This guy is out of control. He wants to go. He's of age. Let's let him go. Screw him. Let's give him up." And she said no. She said, and I remember her words. She said, "If we can save him, he'll be one of the greatest advocates for treatment and for recovery that we'll ever see." That's what she said. I told her, you know, F you and let me out of here. And I stand before you 23 years clean and sober because of people like you seeing something good in me, forcing me into treatment, and people like Jean Cassidy seeing something good in me and keeping me engaged in treatment. So from a very personal perspective, thank you for what you do. Now, the rest of the story. I'm leaving on a 3 o'clock flight today to get home to Memphis. To speak at Jean's funeral. And it's cool. It's so good. She saved my life. And I've got 3 beautiful kids, and the cycle in my family is broken. I've got 2 kids in college and a 2-year-old. Yes, I'm still crazy. I've got spiritual direction in my life that I've got friends. My mom's picking me up at the airport at 11 o'clock tonight. And it's a beautiful, beautiful life. Erica Wood, remember the phone call? Erica Wood had gotten busted on trafficking charges. And her boyfriend, who was supposedly supposed to drive with me back to Memphis from South Florida, was an undercover DEA agent. I came that close. I came that close to not having this, to not being really not standing before you today. And so it is with the deepest sense of appreciation that I have, deep, deep gratitude for what you do, for you unencumber my brothers and my sisters from addiction. And you look deep in them and you see something really good in them that they can't see in themselves. And then you get in their corner and you fight for them. Are you kidding me? Thank you. Really thank you for what you do. Okay? This was supposed to be a little upbeat. So I probably should have tested this before I got up here. Medic! Do I just hit the forward button? Yeah. Good night. It's not good when the AV guy goes, huh. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to call you an AV guy. We're good now? Yay. Yeah. Thank you. Give him a hand for saving my life. So, drug courts, a proven budget solution. Isn't it just idiotic that we have to fight for drug courts and treatment dollars? I mean, it's idiotic. That's the crime. But I tell you, it gets me up in the morning, and it's a great battle to be engaged in. It's not just my life you save. It's young parents getting their children back out of CPS or foster care once those parents have established a safe environment and they're clean and sober. You reunify families. You give little girls back their mommies clean and sober. These are graduates. This is on the far left is the mother, and then the daughter, obviously in the middle, and her daughter. So there's 3 generations. 2 of those generations are graduates of a drug court in Nashville, forever breaking the cycle in that family. Little girls back in mommy's custody. We see husbands and wives who've been arrested together, graduate together. Have any of you seen that in your courts? This is a dad. Mother died of an OD in Mississippi, Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Meth addict, lost custody of his 2 children. He's clean and sober, 2.5 years. Kids are back together, reunified with dad. So it is, I mean, it is remarkable what you do to restore families and cut crime, and it saves taxpayers a freaking fortune. It does. And Mike Rimpel shared, I said freaking. She snapped around and looked at me. I see you. But this idea of keeping addicts in treatment long enough for it actually to benefit them, it's brilliant. And it's what works. That's the magic. It's coming before the judge. That's the magic. And yes, it is the closest thing to a silver bullet we have. So this idea of judicially supervised treatment using reinforcers, and yes, from time to time we do have to impose intermediate sanctions for individuals not living up to their obligations. But we also understand in our courts that it's positive reinforcement that actually gets people down the road. I'm going to say it, it's love. Gosh, no one threw anything at me. I love this room. It is love. It is loving the human spirit that actually teaches people what to do and gets them moving down the road. It's the positive reinforcements that we see. It's the tangible rewards, and yes, every once in a while there's a hug. And sometimes, as you know, these are the only wins that our clients have ever experienced. This is the first time they've ever graduated. When I graduated treatment, it was the first thing I'd ever graduated. True story. And so it sets people on their path and gives them, as Denny was saying so beautifully, the tools to deal with life on life's terms, which can be really tough sometimes. And so the way that we at NADCP have been telling your story is that you save taxpayers a great deal of money. In doing so, you save lives, you save families, and now we're seeing, this huge number of veterans coming back with post-traumatic stress disorder, TBI. I'm going to give you some statistics in a minute, but you're saving veterans, people who put their life on the line for our freedom. And these are messages. These are really quick, down and dirty messages that any policymaker can understand and grasp in a very, very crisp way. These 4 ways to talk about drug court: saves lives, saves money, saves families, saves veterans. That resonates. And it resonates to the point where we've seen just a massive amount of national press. Have you guys been keeping up with some of this? The national press singing the story of what you do it's overwhelming. It's really been so cool, whether it's been Newsweek or Time, front page of the New York Times, USA Today, a number of times over the last 2 years. This is Judge Joanne Ferdinand from the Brooklyn Treatment Court. So this is CNN, Fox News. This is Judge Pamela Gray, Family Dependency Treatment Court judge in downtown Washington, D.C., who herself went through foster care, left foster care at 18, put herself through undergrad, put herself through law school, and is now a family dependency treatment court judge. Unbelievable story. So that was a story about her and her court on ABC World News Tonight. This is just a snapshot of the national media coverage telling your story this year. I mean, there's an absolute barrage. Just around our national conference, did you guys see Hardball with Chris Matthews, Martin Sheen, and that's Judge Robert Russell from the Buffalo Drug Court, Mental Health Court, and Veterans Treatment Court were on Chris Matthews. So the press is singing your praises, telling your story, and it's not just about the anecdotal stories of triumph and transformation. There's, as Mike Rimpel did so beautifully this morning, it's all really based in evidence that no other justice intervention, no other strategy that we've ever employed with the drug using offender can brag, and it is that drug courts have withstood the rigors of scientific scrutiny. These are all real before and after pictures I'm about to show you with what the science is telling us. And I thank you for sending your pictures in to us. They're great. Obviously, the booking photo is on the right, and the graduation photo is on the left. I could tell you a really quick question. Have you guys seen the Painting the Current Picture report that Dr. Doug Marlowe and I released in July? Please, one person, 2, 3. So you've seen it. I didn't ask if you read it. So I was with Senator Al Franken recently. You know who Senator? Okay, so I was with him recently, and he's whether you like his politics or not, he is funny, and he's important to drug court funding, federal drug court funding. He sits on the Senate Judiciary Committee and Appropriations Committees. Anyway, I'm trying to get his attention. He's all over the place. I'm just trying to, so I'm like, oh, I've got to show him these pictures. So I spun the Painting the Current Picture cover around, which has 2 before and after photos, and I slid it over to him, and I said, Senator, just look at the impact drug courts make on individual lives. Look at the before and after picture. And without missing a beat, he said, well, Wes, it depends on which one is the before and the after picture now, doesn't it? So anyway, even, sometimes even our policymakers don't get it, but no, he gets it, and he's a big fan. So drug courts have withstood the rigors of scientific community. Drug courts have been put under the scientific microscope, so to speak, and the scientists have concluded that drug courts outperform, obviously, jail and prison, but also outperform probation and treatment alone. And so you make the system better by working what? Together. Novel idea. Very difficult to do, but you do it very, very well. And just to state what it says up there, there is more research published on drug courts today than all other criminal justice strategies combined. Period, end of story. There is more research proving that what you do works than most medications you put in your body. Take it to the bank. That's not the National Association of Drug Court Professionals cheerleading that message. That is the scientific community, from the Campbell Collaborative all the way to your own Washington State Institute for Public Policy. Major important research consortiums and universities agreeing that drug courts outperform any other strategy that we can use. And as of today, there have been 6 meta-analyses conducted showing that drug courts reduce crime by as much as 45%, up to 45% reduction compared to anything else you can do. They also reduce substance abuse more than 35%. Look at that. And you've seen that. I mean, you see it slowly. I think it's amazing to see the before and after. Drug courts increase employment and school enrollment. And this is from one of your courts. Now that's a mullet. I wish I had hair like that. Oh, I'd kill to have hair like that. But we restore families. So just a couple of highlights. Family Dependency Treatment Court, man, that is God's work, isn't it? The bifurcated goal of protecting the child and getting the child help and getting the parents help too, with hopefully the goal of reunification. National statistics show that children are significantly more likely, to be reunified with their families, spending significantly less time in foster care, and return to their families much sooner than the comparison traditional way of doing business in family court. San Diego Family Dependency Treatment Court yielded a 58% reduction in foster care costs compared to traditional dependency court proceedings, amounting to $1.5 million savings to the county. It's amazing. Drug court, a proven budget solution. DWI courts, there's just a ton of research on DWI courts. We're seeing statistics out of Michigan, out of a 3-county study that was just released out of Georgia, showing significant reductions in drunk driving incidences among hardcore repeat drunk drivers, recidivist drunk drivers, significant reduction in criminal arrests and in particular DWI or DUI, whatever you call it here. This is really where the rubber hits the road. How many of your 401ks are returning 221%? Anyone? Anyone? No. you can take it to the bank that for every dollar the government, a foundation, we as individuals invest in drug court, we will return a minimum $2.21, a 221% interest rate. That's wrong. A 221% return on that dollar for every dollar invested. And those are savings to the criminal justice system. So when you use that statistic, make sure that you explain those are savings to the justice system. In other words, if Wes isn't getting rearrested, guess what? I'm not costing the police any money to track me down, to arrest me, to put handcuffs on me. I'm not costing the jail when I'm booked over and over and over again. I'm not costing the court system to give me, the due process. I mean, you get it, right? We save the system. But then when we start adding in community impacts such as what? Emergency room episodes, drug-free baby. I mean, you could just, just go down the list of your community impacts. The cost-benefit increases to as much as $27 for every dollar invested. And so it is, look, take it to the bank, dollar invested on drug court, it saves taxpayers a freaking fortune. And that's why 26 states from 2007 to 2009 increased drug court funding in state budgets. Now, what's been going on? Yeah, the economy is in the toilet. You knew that. It's absolutely shocking to see the budget numbers from state to state and the federal deficit. But yet 26 states reported an increase in the actual appropriation for drug courts between 2007 and 2009. When we combine all state appropriations at the end of 2009, it totals almost $243 million appropriated, real tax dollars appropriated for drug court at the state level. That's a nice chunk of change, and there's a lot of states that your legislators can be looking to who have increased drug courts, recognizing the savings, the long-term savings and short-term savings that drug courts enjoy. State appropriations increased for drug courts over $62 million or 35% from 2007 to 2009. So again, drug court is a budget solution, and a lot of legislators are beginning to take notice. And Denny mentioned that there are 2,500 drug courts in existence, and when I talk about drug courts, this is what we mean by those. This number is as of the end of 2009. It's the last published number that we have. Our latest survey, which would be July 1st of this year, shows almost 2,700. We just grow and grow and grow. The aggregate number of drug courts continues to grow, which is good. Part of that growth has been the 100 now veterans treatment courts that are up and running and have come online in the last 2.5 years, almost 3 years. And that's being driven by 1 in 6 veterans from current war on terror returning with a substance abuse disorder, 1 in 6. 1 in 5 with a co-occurring mental health disorder or traumatic brain injury. And they're living. And that's I think, driving a phenomenon that we have never seen in this country before. They're living through incredible trauma thanks to modern medicine and that magic hour, getting our veterans trauma care in the magic hour. But the long-term impacts of their wounds we have yet to see. And they're coming back, what it's estimated that 1.2 million will be home before, I think there was a news report today, but yesterday it was before 2014. I think it's going to be sooner than that. And we're seeing the suicide rate among our veterans at an all-time high, 18 a day. Women veterans is 3 times the national average. And they're violent suicides, typically with a gun. So they're suffering. And the one thing that we know is when they're arrested, we can be here for them. And we can give them what the justice system, the best that the justice system has to offer, and that's drug courts or mental health courts or designated veterans treatment courts. So the VA is warming up to this idea of what they're calling justice-involved veterans, ensuring that we don't see the kind of homelessness and drug addiction that we saw from our Vietnam veterans. By the way, veterans in the room, please raise your hand. Give these men and women a huge hand. So drug courts, all drug courts are reaching about 120,000 a year. That's a moving target, and that's a pretty good estimate. That's with 2/3 of states reporting that can report. So 120,000 currently being served at any given time. The Urban Institute says that there are 1.2 million adult addicted offenders who are prison bound who could benefit from drug court and should be in drug court. And we're not reaching but somewhere between 5 to 10% of them. Yes, we're seeing a 22,500 graduates a year. The average cost, this is a national average of drug court, is $5,700. But no one would say or agree that drug courts have been fully implemented or have been taken to scale. And in our survey, our national survey, 56% of U.S. counties do not have an adult drug court. Let that sink in a second. After 22 years of being in business, over half the counties in the U.S. don't have an adult drug court. 84 don't have a juvenile drug court. 87% don't have a family dependency treatment court. So we have a long way to go just to get drug court within reach of every American in need. And it's not because we don't have the political will. We have hero judges and prosecutors and defense attorneys and treatment providers and probation officers and police officers and coordinators. I mean, we have the will. It really comes down to the almighty dollar. It really comes down to money. And we as a field, we as a discipline, we need to step up and we need to ask because everyone else is. And we need to be loud. And we have the data and we have the personal stories, and it's incredibly compelling. Hell, you guys compel drug addicts into long-term treatment, drug testing, and ongoing judicial supervision. Yeah, there is nothing you can do. You are very, very convincing. The primary factor limiting program expansion is funding, period, end of story. 96% of states. And so just to kind of wrap this up, we have at NADCP, and I know in states all across this country, we've been rallying. I'm sorry, just the mob scene out in front of Wall Street just went through my mind, is why I laughed. I wish we had that kind of mobilization because we have it as an important story to tell. But we've been lobbying, we've been marching, we've been using celebrity, we've been using the news, we've been doing everything we can to drive the story of what you do on Capitol Hill. How many of you got to come to Washington, D.C. for our national conference? Thank you guys so much for coming to that. I know it's a huge financial burden, but you know, it was so important that you guys were there. We had 3,600 people in the room at opening ceremony, standing room only. And we went on the Hill. We spent an entire day on the Hill, and we started off with a rally. So that's Trey Anastasio from Fish on the left. A drug court in upstate New York saved his life, put his band back together, put his family back together, and he's a huge champion of drug courts, obviously. He has a great personal story. Matthew Perry, and Matthew Perry's flying back to D.C. tomorrow, Sunday, to work with us all week on Capitol Hill. He is a huge champion of what you do. Melissa Fitzgerald, who was on The West Wing, and Harry Lennox, who's a movie star, has been on everything from Ray to a multitude of movies. So we had Martin Sheen, multiple celebrities driving this message that drug courts work. And for the first time in our field's history, we had a hearing before the Senate Judiciary Committee on drug courts. And it was, if you haven't seen this thing, if you haven't seen what Doug Marlowe does in that hearing, watch it. It's absolutely fascinating. Just go to allrise.org and you can, or go to our YouTube page or channel, and it's all there, or just email me and I'll send you the link. But Martin Sheen testified, Dr. Doug Marlowe. It was incredible. And we have this unbelievable bipartisan support. So this is a letter signed to the Appropriations Chairman and Ranking Member by Al Franken, Senator Al Franken, and Senator John Boozman from Arkansas, Republican, Democrat. I think it's the only thing on Capitol Hill that Congress agrees on. I mean, it's a no. I don't care if they're a Tea Partier or if they're the most liberal person in U.S. Congress. I have yet to hear somebody say, now that's a bad idea. I'm not kidding you. Even moving federal dollars to the states, we have heard, yes, it makes sense, saves money. We've got your back in this a downturn economy and in the cuts that are coming. We've used a number of rock stars and other celebrities. Have you guys seen some of these? And Denny has been a big part of that and has brought to bear a ton of friends, and he keeps doing it. And we were in the car last night. I'm not going to say who it was, but I'm a big fan of who he called, and I just couldn't stop. I couldn't stop laughing. I'm like, this is just hilarious. Our future looks very bright because of ambassadors who have some light that they can shine on what you do. So that's why we're using celebrity. I mean, honestly, guys, if you don't have money, celebrity works. When Matthew Perry shows up, you should see our schedule starting on Monday, going through Thursday. I think we're meeting with like 26 members of Congress, not their staff. I mean, the members, they want their picture. I mean, it's hilarious. So, you guys have celebrity in this great state. Take them to a graduation. That's what we've got. That's how we got Denny's heart. That's how we've gotten a lot of celebrities involved. You just invite them to a graduation. Ask them to speak. And we'll be glad to help you reach out to some if we can. If you identify some folks who live in your area, I'm sure we have some linkage to them. We launched this YouTube page. I'm 40, almost 44, and Twitter and all that stuff. I think I'm too old. I'm so resistant to it, but thank God I've got these great kids, and it's hilarious to call them kids, but they are kids. They work for us, and we have 3 Twitter accounts, and we have YouTube and Facebook. And we're telling the story in every way we can to build the All Rise Armies, we're calling it, and to make drug court a household name, because I think that that's as important as anything that we're doing. So this is our YouTube page. The story of Trey Anastasio, I don't know what this screenshot says, but it was up to 39,000 hits last night of him just telling his story about drug court. So it's a great way to engage the public, and most of you don't even know who Trey Anastasio is. I know. This is our Facebook page, and my daughter is a junior at Ole Miss, University of Mississippi. She is the captain of the Pom Pom squad. I text her every Saturday when I see her on ESPN, and Will you put some clothes on, please? Oh, I'm not kidding. Thank God she has a good head on her shoulders. She has 4,800 fans or friends on Facebook. Oh, it's not funny, dude. But Facebook, I mean, how many of you, come on, you can admit it, how many of you had a Facebook page? Let me see, come on, all right. Get on Facebook, become a fan, get engaged, be involved in the discussion, please. I have to be able at some point to tell my daughter that drug courts are actually bigger than she is, okay? We've got like 3,400 or something. But we launched this a year ago, and this is not my daughter's Facebook page. This is, we found some loopholes, and you know, we can control the content. Again, kids figured it out, but we can control the contents. It's really, really cool. So I hope you all visit that. And then our website, allrise.org, everything drug court. And what we're trying to do is just drive as much eyes to the website to tell your story. Now, as a result, and I'm finished with this, as a result of all of your work and what we've been doing that I've given you a little glimpse of, hi, Judge St. Clair, how are you, my friend? It's good to see you. In 2007, did you know that the federal drug court funding was at an all-time low? Clinton crime bill signed in 1994 appropriated $1 billion to drug courts by the year 2000. $1 billion. By the year 2007, 7 years after that $1 billion was supposed to be appropriated to you, we were seeing it trickled out of the federal government, or by the federal government, at $20.2 million. That's not even budget dust. You can use that term if you want to. That's nothing. By 2010, we'd seen federal funding up to our historic high of $88.8 million. You can clap, it's okay. And that's due to your work and due to your diligence. And we're asking for $250 million. If you want to know what the number is, on Capitol Hill, it's $250 million a year for what you do. That will begin to get drug court and other problem-solving courts within reach of every person that needs it. This last slide, we think we will see about a $90 million, if all things remain where they are today. The House and the Senate have both weighed in, all the committees. We believe if and when the FY12 budget is passed, we'll see $90 million for what you do. And let me tell you guys, this includes a $2.5 million increase out of the House. Now, if you've been watching TV, they haven't been giving away a lot of money lately. That is out of the Republican-controlled House of Representatives. That tells you that this message of saving money, a budget solution, saving our veterans, putting families back together, just telling your story in a very simple and clear way is resonating. I don't know why I have a picture of my 3 kids up there. I think they just want to say thank you for what you do. Thank you for what you do.